It is officially 2026 for Iowa football, and the Hawkeyes are certainly at work trying to get better for the next season. Coming off a bowl win against Vandy, of course, to complete a 9-4 campaign, an impressive win against a top-level SEC opponent. So, looking forward to 2026, we can certainly talk bowl game. You ultimately produce the show based on your comments and questions there in the chat. We appreciate your super chat contributions. And we appreciate you being here. The Amazon link's also in the description section of this video. All the videos here at the Voice of College Football. And when you join Corey, of course, he's got an Amazon link that simply helps build and grow the channels. And it provides no different shopping experience for you. Corey, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. Few days into the portal cycle, and we got a bombshell today. It was really the first surprise of the cycle for Iowa. It kind of felt like maybe we would get through this whole 2-week window without any surprises, and then this drop. So, I mean, I guess we probably shouldn't. We should probably stop being surprised by this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it just when you have human beings that are, and I don't know that. Look, I don't know the details as to what Cohen and Tringer has on the table. If it's a huge bag from somewhere, then it's a huge bag from somewhere. You know, I go back to this over and over again, and I'm not here to defend him or, you know, I know he made some comments before the bowl game that gave media and fans reason to believe he was coming back. And so I think there's a feeling of, you know, being betrayed here from a lot of Iowa fans, but this is nothing new. And I compared it to Justin Jacobs a few years ago, and Justin Jacobs went on to Oregon. I think got paid a lot of money to do it. Probably not as much as some of these kids are getting now, but he made a lot of money to go there, and he ain't playing no league. I mean, and who's to say he would be if he was at Iowa? But man, I think he would have been. I mean, I just think he would have been under Seth Wallace's direction. He was already heading that direction, but he chose to chase the bag. I'm not saying that that's what's happening with Cohen and Tringer, but I'm also saying it's not. That it's not happening. So I don't think it has anything to do with LeVar Woods leaving. Why would it? Although those two guys do kind of emulate each other. It feels like when you listen to them talk, they sound like one another. Very studious, very, hey, he was a captain. I mean, this isn't just some random starter. This is a captain. This is a guy that Phil Parker really respected. Kirk Ferentz really respected. And who knows what's going on behind the table here, but or under the table behind closed doors. It's a shock. No question about it. Again, probably shouldn't be, but it's a blow. And now just try to figure it out. I mean, I was feeling pretty good 2 days into the cycle. I'll tell you that. Like, you know, we've seen pretty big roster overhauls basically everywhere, and even Iowa's dealt with that. But like this year, it was like, okay, Jackson Stratton's gone, Cale Kolaric is gone, Jazz Patterson. You know, he was a good player, but they're deep at running back. You kind of expected that a year or two ago. He's gone. And you're not going to get any of those fourth-year guys back for fifth seasons, which was, you know, a very small possibility if the lawsuit that had been put before a judge actually was successful, which it was not. So Graves and Wampa and Drew Stevens are all definitively gone. You expect some of that. And then they get a couple of guys out of the portal you're excited about, like Anthony Hawkins, really good prospect, FCS freshman All-American at Villanova. He had scheduled visits to Wisconsin and Kentucky, canceled those visits, committed to Iowa on the spot. We saw an Elon defensive end today. I haven't talked about him formally yet. Great motor. I think he had like 12 sacks this year, granted FCS level. But I know he was wanted by, I think Purdue threw in an offer for him, and I don't know that he even ended up, he may have visited Purdue, but he commits to Iowa. And then the kicker up at North Dakota State. And here's the thing about kickers, like he was like, I think 12 of 14 or something like that on field goals this year. That's not a position I worry too much about, like his game translating to the Big Ten. I mean, a kicker is a kicker in general, I would think. He's a good kicker. And they needed a replacement for Drew Stevens desperately. Eli Ozik's going to be that guy. That's positive. So just like really good all around. But boy, this is maybe your best player returning on defense, and now he's gone. With the exception maybe being Zach Lutmer. Like he and Zach Lutmer, cross your fingers that Zach Lutmer doesn't shock the world and decide to leave tomorrow. I am not surprised now that it's happened, but in the moment I was shocked.
Okay, yeah, staying with Tringer. So we have an exceptional player. Obviously, there's a market out there for him. He will have no issue finding a landing spot. Maybe he already has. To your earlier point, the way this is supposed to work is not as such, and we're not saying that he already has landed a deal or there's been tampering or anything like that. But we know that that goes on
everywhere.
He's a cap. Yes, goes on everywhere. He's a captain that also gives indication of there being more attachment, respect of his teammates, respect from the coaching staff, that there's a little bit more there in terms of ties to the program, his investment into the program, what he's shown as a leader, and all of that. So that makes it difficult to put together as well. And then you mentioned the comments that he made about 2026. I read those comments. I don't know that he was posed a question. So there's two different sides to that in regards to when somebody just offers up a perspective on something like this. And if you're not familiar, folks, and correct me if I'm wrong, Corey, he just said something about, goals for 2026, getting to the college football playoff, winning every game. But if he's asked about 2026, then obviously he's going to make a statement like that. But if he offers up a statement like that, and then a few days later hits the transfer portal, that's certainly strange as well.
Yeah, I went back and read some of those comments that he made, and I was not there for that media availability, but I mean, who knows if he had that decision made then or not? So, like, we just don't know. He could have decided here in the last couple of days. I mean, is it possible that I'm just throwing this out there? I'm not saying it's happened, but the new coach at Michigan, and he's from Michigan. Is it possible that he threw him a bag? I mean, that's possible. I don't know, but I don't. Here's what I'll say. I don't understand what the point of having a transfer portal window is. Like, I just truly don't understand it. It's become this glorified source of entertainment for 2 weeks and an opportunity for clicks for the people at On3 and Joe Tipton and Pete Nakos and, Matt Zenitz and all these guys. Like, these are not guys who, like, these are not days that are really earth shattering, because a lot of these guys are being contacted prior. They're being tampered with in season. I mean, like, this is not, I just don't understand what the point of the portal is. If the NCAA has no control over this, which they do not, they have no power to enforce anything, then why do we even have a portal window? Why do we have a portal window? It's just unrestricted free agency at all times. So why limit guys to formally enter the portal when they've been being recruited for weeks or in some cases months? Like, what is the point? It makes no sense whatsoever. And it's just one of many things that don't make sense. I just, like, a couple of years ago, I remember talking to you about tampering, and we were like, well, yeah, it's not really being enforced. And now we don't even talk about it being enforced. We don't even talk about, like, well, maybe they'll get caught, because nobody cares. And even if they did, would the NCAA be able to do anything about it? No, they wouldn't. I mean, this is like the plague of the frogs on Egypt. I mean, there's too much to deal with right now. And the NCAA they really don't have any authority to deal with it. That's the problem. We're going on this list every single year. We go down this road. They really have no control over this, because the powers that be have basically said, you have to be very careful with what you tell athletes, these non-pro athletes, what they can and cannot do. So the NCAA has these, like, almost arbitrary rules that aren't enforceable, sometimes don't make any sense, and fans are just left to kind of reap the rewards or the results of those. And it's also, like, this is the funny thing in the last few days that I also want to bring up. I see these, I've seen all these Iowa burner accounts making fun of Iowa State fans for, all the portal entries that they've had. They like 40 some people enter the portal, right? A bunch of the guys from Iowa State are going to Penn State. Okay, fine. So Iowa makes fun of those guys. But then all these kids that are committing to Iowa State, well, they have to field a team. So Jimmy Rogers is going to get guys to Iowa State. So you get all these guys from Wazoo, and they just got a safety yesterday who was second in the country in interception, safety from Toledo. And I see these Iowa State accounts just, oh my God, buy in now. Like everybody that commits, whether it's one of these Iowa guys, a new Iowa State guy, it's like the moon landing. Like they're all going to make you the best team in the country. And some people just love that. They just feast on it. But when you see everybody in the country, all of these fan bases reacting the same way to players, it's like, hey, just the cards are going to fall where they do. But it's almost like I can see why people are just so worn out on even listening to it because it's just insane. I don't know. That's my soapbox for today, Mark.
Well, I generally agree, 90 some percent. Certainly, though, the NCAA, they still hand out penalties. They still hand out punishments in other areas of the business of college football. Of course, Michigan being the most recent, whether you agree with the severity or not, they did review that case, went through investigations. I just think, number one, as you mentioned with the frogs on Egypt, which direction do they go? How in the world would they possibly try to investigate tampering? Because it's just kind of a given that everyone's involved.
Yeah, like clean the stove and now deal with the toaster. I mean, it's just and here's the other thing about it. Like you said, yeah, they enforce some things. Yeah, that's the problem. You know, they have rules and they have just chosen to enforce some or are allowed to enforce some but are not allowed to enforce others.
Yeah, they're just not touching this at all.
No, they just don't care.
Yeah,
So
they're just leaving this alone. Other things involving, well, I don't even know about recruiting violations. I don't know the last school that was caught for recruiting violations in terms of high school football recruiting violations. That used to be a pretty regular occurrence.
Can we go back to the beginning with this? What maybe you don't know the answer to this because we're so deep into this rabbit hole now. But what from a rules or legal standpoint is preventing the NCAA from limiting players to only transfer one time? What is preventing them from saying that? What prevents them from saying there is a new rule, you no longer are eligible if you transfer to a third school?
Well, originally there was no transfers unless there was a hardship case or a graduate transfer, of course. And then generally this entire just genie came out of the bottle when this sport was just determined by the courts to be kind of an illegal monopoly of sorts, or just holding student athletes at ransom to these schools, not paying them, not considering these to be jobs, not considering that there should be under our laws in this country the ability to move and relocate and go to another school like any other athlete, any other student can.
And yet there are that's my point. There are other eligibility rules that they are still enforcing. So how are they allowed to enforce those eligibility rules? If they're being held back from doing certain things, like how is that not matching up to what the Supreme Court ruled on 5 years ago?
I am guessing, not as a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination, that this could be much more regulated legally if college football would come together, or college athletics would come together in terms of governing itself under one umbrella and saying, for the good of the sport, we are all working together. Therefore, much like a professional league, we are instituting rules to allow pay, to allow freedom of movement under guidelines, under certain restrictions, to regulate this and rein it in. But as these conferences act autonomously and otherwise, I just don't believe that can be done.
And ultimately, this came back to the NIL discussion, right? I mean, in the first place, where this started, right? It came back to the fact that players were not able to make money off their name, image, and likeness.
Yes.
So you can still make money off your name, image, and likeness. But just like an NFL player, that's why I have to listen to Aaron Rodgers' monotone voice on every State Farm commercial, or Caitlin Clark if you don't like Caitlin Clark. So pro athletes can make money as they choose away from the field. But when you're to compete within that field or compete within that franchise, within that organization, association, there are certain rules in place. I don't know why that's so difficult, but I'm not a lawyer either. So, we've been going. I just thought we'd find someone somewhere would get some stranglehold over this. And here we are 5 years into this thing, and we really have made no progress. It doesn't feel like we've made any progress. Like this revenue sharing thing, what has that done to prevent the chaos and the portal? Like, if anything, we've got more chaos now than we did a year ago before revenue sharing started.
And it's my understanding that weeks after the revenue sharing was announced, that according to some reliable sources, that every Power 4 institution announced in some way, or let it be known in some way, that they were going to utilize the entire $20.5 million. That was not a requirement, but because they all want to compete and all want to be able to continue to be viable, they determined that. So that should not necessarily be a deterrent in staying, or should be a great allure to go to a larger, more prominent school or location because they pay out more, their revenue sharing is more. Because apparently, except for every school having a different level of distribution between football, basketball, and other sports that are equitable, that would be only a slight difference. So, yeah, there is nothing on this that has really changed. It's only become the numbers only grow massively more per portal cycle.
Yeah.
And then, we just went through bowl season, and the opt-outs are the opt-outs. And you bring up NIL. This is another question that I have, that if we could bring on the magic person to come on here and we could just pick off these questions one by one. Why can't the NIL revenue pay that is being paid to these players include postseason play? Put it right in the contract. Tie them to the entire season. The completion of the season includes postseason play.
Yeah.
And we've got this transfer portal window that obviously, to a small degree, affects 4 teams more than the others because they're still playing. They still have their 2 most important football games in front of them, playing for a national championship, and they got players leaving.
Yeah,
now, are they prominent players? No. Are they even? I haven't come across, and I should do a deeper dive. I did gloss over it. Whether any of them have any impact at all, I don't believe so.
Yeah, here's what I would do. All right, I would say players without a hardship waiver, and again, this has to go beyond. I would think this has to go beyond the NCAA. I like that. I think what you said, there has to be governance over, like, admittance into whatever the new system is. If you're a program, like, you have to opt into that when you begin competition as a player, as a program. We want to call it a franchise. You can do that. You can only transfer once, or when you were recruited, you have to commit to a contract. And I think it should either be stipulated. It's either a 1-year contract, a 2-year contract, a 3-year contract, or maybe in some cases the player wants to sign a 4-year contract. Maybe the school doesn't want to sign him for 4 years. But then it's at that point that if you sign a 1-year contract, you know that at the end of that 1 year, you're either re-signing or you're looking for your only other college home.
You are reminding me, Corey, of my immediate response. I mean, within minutes of when this revenue sharing plan was released and people were going nuts, and I understand it as a college sports fan, but my immediate response past the, oh, wow, $20.5 million top added on to all these other millions that these players are making through NIL. But my next thought was, okay, this could be good for the sport because, as you were stating right there, not this just unlimited free agency. Yes, You sign a scholarship, you get paid whatever the share is, whether it's going to be an even distribution among the entire football team, or you're the quarterback, you make this much, you're the starting star left tackle, you make this much, and there are various levels, regardless of how it's distributed. Yeah, you sign a contract, and it's agreed upon between school and player that, yeah, you were the lowest maybe rated player in our recruiting class. We only want to sign you for 1 year, and you're happy to sign for that year. Or, hey, you're our 4-star quarterback that we want to keep as long as possible. You signed a 3-year contract, and you're good with that because maybe we had to pay a little bit more to keep you for 3 years. But at least we wouldn't have this ridiculous, which I don't know that any of us forecasted what we saw last off season just explode. And that's player A finishes his season with one team, transfers, winter workouts, spring practice with another team, doesn't even give them a one game of play, any payoff, and then they leave and go to another school.
Caden Proctor.
Caden Proctor. Yes, perfect example, because he actually, I don't want to say screwed Iowa even before he ever became a collegiate athlete,
No,
but
he pretty much
yeah.
screwed Iowa. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I don't want to just spend this whole show complaining, because I get tired of hearing people complain about it, because like, unless you can do something about it, I may come up with a more in-depth proposal and consult with you and then release something, but not that the powers that be care what I have to say. But I will say, Cohen leaving, huge hit for the defense. I just go back to kind of your core principles with this defense. Got to have trust in Phil. They were very thin at safety this year. Thankfully, they stayed healthy. But now you got to get Zach Lutmer back. Anthony Hawkins better pan out, right? Like, they've had other guys that brought in a DB from South Dakota, Shaheed Barrows, who dealt with some injuries but never sniffed the field this year. So it is possible that you whiff on lower level guys, and this guy's lower than South Dakota. Villanova is not the program that South Dakota is traditionally. Now, they were a good program this year in the FCS. They actually went to the, I believe they went to, I have that written down somewhere. I think they went to the quarterfinals. Yeah, FCS quarterfinals. Actually beat number 5 Lehigh, beat number 4 Tarleton State. So they're a bit of a Cinderella as a 12 seed. But he better pan out. 6'3", $195, 59 tackles this year, 2 picks, 2 tackles for loss, forced fumble, 11 passes broken up. Had been scheduled to visit Wisconsin and Kentucky. Has 3 years of eligibility remaining. Had no recruitment out of high school. Is a 0-star prospect out of Annapolis, Maryland, and played 5 games in 24. And 4 games in 24. There was actually a typo on his Villanova bio that said he played 5 games, which would eliminate one of those years of eligibility. But no, he played 4 games. So he's got 3 years left. FCS freshman All-American as a safety. But to me, he looked like the natural fit to replace Xavier Wampa alongside Cohen. And now you're like, okay, what do we do with Cohen's spot? They were recruiting a kid from Southwest Minnesota State, Parker Knutson, who just committed to Minnesota yesterday. So he's off the board. But yeah, I mean, they're going to have to get somebody else now, because I don't even know, like, if the season started tomorrow, I don't even know who would start. Like, I really have no idea who would start. Like, I would have said Cale Kolaric. And now if you're Kolaric, if I'm Cale Kolaric, I'm thinking, maybe I want to see if I can get my way back, because he just entered the portal a week ago. Maybe he knew this was going to happen, but if he didn't, like, he was on the 2 deeps. And, I know he's a walk-on, but boy, I always had success with guys like, Quinn Schulte and Jack Kerner and John Loudermilk. I mean, they've had guys like that who have panned out, and Brandon Snyder. They've been good players. So, and then, yeah, they brought in Kalari Brown, who's a transfer edge rusher from Elon. High motor, had like a dozen sacks this year. Haven't talked about him formally on the channel yet, but seems like a guy who can come in and contribute right away. I say seems like, because sometimes you evaluate these guys just like Iowa's evaluating even deeper than we are, and it looks like they're going to be able to translate, and they don't, especially with linemen on both sides of the ball. I thought Bryce Hawthorne was going to be a bigger piece to the interior of that line this year, and he kind of started strong, finished not so strong. He really wasn't in the rotation a whole lot last couple of games. I don't know how many snaps he got. Jonah Pace was a kind of the opposite. Really solid transfer from Central Michigan. So we see examples of it both ways. They've had less success on the offensive side with transfers. That's for certain. Dejon Parker and the Ferris State transfer, Bryce George, Coy Cronk from Indiana in 2020. And then they brought in, like I said, Eli Ozick, who will be a replacement right away for Drew Stevens. Had I think a long of 54. He's got at least 2 years of eligibility remaining. That's huge. That is huge. And, it's not a surprise that they were able to land a kicker. Iowa's got quite a pedigree there, but with LeVar Woods leaving, does some of that aura leave you as a special teams unit? It's also clear now that Caden Weegan is not returning. There was a slight chance, had he gotten his name added to one of those lawsuits that was involving JUCO players, that he could have possibly petitioned for an extra year. He is off. I think he committed to playing the Shrine Bowl, I believe. So I could be wrong. Which one? They have all these different bowl games postseason now, but these senior Shrine, whatever they are. So, and then they're bringing in a kid. I saw yesterday they brought in a Texas Rio Grande Valley receiver, Tony Diaz, who is a speedster, little guy, but Tim Lester's had his fair share of smaller guys work out at receiver. And then they're bringing in a kid from your alma mater, Kent State, to try him out. He's wanted by a bunch of kids. He wears number 21. He's a return guy. He has the largest yards per catch average of anybody in the country. His yards per catch average mark is like 26 yards per catch. So, and then am I missing somebody? Let's see. Who am I missing? Is it Bryce Stevenson? Did I talk about Bryce Stevenson yet?
So we're talking about Cade Wolford.
Cade Wolford.
Right.
Yeah, he's the Kent State receiver who's visiting.
19 catches, 509 yards, 26.8 per reception, 7 touchdowns and 19 receptions. That's not a bad ratio.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
That's an impressive number. So, but yeah, then the one that I didn't talk about, Holy Cross defensive line, defensive tackle, Bryce Stevenson, more of a nose guy, had almost 1,400 snaps for Holy Cross during his career there. Started 7 games in 2023, 7 games in 24, and then all 13 this year. And his dad was an all-ACC offensive lineman at Florida State. His name was Robert Stevenson. So do you remember that name, Mark?
I do.
Of course you do.
This is my take on the transfer portal, just from a selfish standpoint or a comfort standpoint. And I mentioned this to Corey before we came on. And I was not being condescending in any way, but looking at the list of Iowa transfers, and this is typical, they come from the FCS and Division II level, many of them. And I'm tracking the transfer portal less than I ever have this particular cycle, just have other obligations. But in the past, I've been on the transfer portal, minute by minute. And every time there's a Power 4 player going from place to place, 90% of the time, I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember that guy, NC State defensive lineman, I remember watching him play, and now he's going to Kansas State or whatever. But with these Iowa transfers coming in, I can't necessarily say that I've got any comments to make about their play.
What happened to transfer? What happened to Transfer Portal Live? Didn't you used to do a Transfer Portal Live show? Yes, we did
Transfer Portal Live. It's now dead.
It's dead.
It's dead. It's dead. My Transfer Portal co-host is off doing other things.
Yeah, where's she at?
She's all over the place. She covers Kentucky, Ole Miss, Houston.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's impressive. Place with USA Today and some other outfit and whoever else.
By the way, I misspoke. Eli Ozick, 16 of 18 this year at North Dakota State. I mean, that's pretty good, right?
Absolutely. And, Doc P, I'm not saying that Doc P is not correct in regards to the number of Iowa transfer portal misses, but I'm just saying that it could be a case of, if you're focused on your team, like the NFL draft or just regular high school football recruiting, most of these guys are misses for everyone. They really are. Most of them are misses. So if you're taking into account all of college football, I don't know that Iowa's missing more than your average team.
And maybe that's part of the reason why they do go the lower level route, because I'm guessing they can look at the numbers and kind of crunch the numbers. Okay, what percentage of guys that are coming from other Power Four schools are hits? Which ones are not? Like, they may not see much of a difference. And if there's not much of a difference in the numbers, then Mark, they'd probably rather do their research, recruit guys from the FCS Group of Five level, bid less and spend less. Like, I mean, this is anecdotal, but Caleb Brown, total bust. Total bust. I mean, he's Ohio State wide receiver, for Pete's sake. Total bust. Cade McNamara, I hate to say it, total bust. Eric All, Michigan, not a bust. Got hurt, but was not a bust. Really good football player, and he was proven, right? But that was part of the McNamara thing. He's not coming to Iowa if it's not for McNamara. Nick Jackson, Virginia, one of the best portal additions they've had, because he's coming from a Power Four school and was all ACC there, and he comes to Iowa and does the same here. So he was a phenomenal addition. But a lot of the guys that they've landed over the years that have been really good transfers, Mekhi Sargent, Zach Van Valkenburg, Rusty Feth. I mean, those guys are, in some cases, FCS, some cases low FBS, some cases Division II. And there are other examples. I can bring up guys who have not panned out. But Mark Gronowski, FCS, I would say it was a big success. I mean, I know people are frustrated with his arm, but in general, a huge boost at the quarterback position. So, I mean, I'll say this. We haven't talked about Wisconsin yet, but how about they've pulled in some people. Abu Sama from Iowa State at tailback. They brought in Colton Joseph, the quarterback from Old Dominion. All of a sudden, Fickle's got it rolling there, Mark.
Yeah. They beat Washington and Illinois, like 2 wins in the final 3 games, I believe. The other loss was to Minnesota in a blizzard. So I don't know who would have won the game had it been decently played. But, they played much better down the stretch. And then, Luke Fickle, well, he went to the portal heavy when he first arrived, and with no real impact positively, but these guys are proven. So yeah, maybe Luke Fickle's not dead yet.
And I saw Billy Edwards. Where is he headed?
I don't know.
I saw where he was going. What a total flop there. He ended up at.
He got hurt.
Well, but he ended up at North Carolina with Belichick.
Okay. Interesting.
So, I mean, hey, some good additions. I know this puts a damper on people's enthusiasm to some extent. It was probably unreasonable to think that Iowa would be able to hang on to all their known commodities. That was definitely the hope, right? That was the hope, that they would be able to hold on to Entringer and Deshaun Lee and Zach Lutmer. Defensive line, you knew you were going to be replacing a bunch of guys. So, that's they got some building pieces there that you expect to need to return, whether that be Bryce Hawthorne or Kenneth Merriweather. On the offensive side, why would an offensive lineman leave Iowa right now unless you're not playing? That's even more obvious than the defensive line. Coy, I keep going back to Coy Cronk. Why do I have Coy Cronk's name stuck in my head? I wonder what do you think Coy Cronk's doing right now? You think his ears are tickled a little bit? You think they're tingling?
If they're ever going to be tickled, then this would be the time.
Shout out.
Although you have mentioned him in the past.
Yes, I have. No, I was thinking of Cade Pieper and, Jack Dotzler is a guy maybe can come in and finally give them something, contribute. Was there any other people? I saw Casper's in the portal. Has he committed anywhere yet? Kyler Casper.
I don't recall seeing that.
So I believe he entered the portal here 4 days ago. And there's speculation, since his dad did play with LeVar, that maybe he's headed to Michigan State. Remember, Iowa really wanted him out of the portal. His dad, Kevin, was a really good receiver at Iowa, and Iowa recruited him hard. But I've not heard legitimate scuttlebutt there that possibly he's even on Iowa's radar right now. So, it is going to be interesting. You're going to have theoretically a Bryce and Bryce starting alongside one another in the interior of that defensive line, Hawthorne and Stevenson.
Iowa Hawkeyes Live comes your way every Tuesday, 5 Eastern, for where it counts, their central time zone, of course. And Iowa Hawkeyes Live brought to you by FanDuel. Please like the video. Please subscribe here. Get to Corey's channel, of course, every day from the Hawkeye of the Storm. So you're picking off all of these transfer portal editions, plus navigating through basketball.
Yeah.
How are the two teams? What kind of starts are they off to?
They're both off to very good starts. The women are 4-0 in the league. They did not play well last night, but they won. They beat Northwestern on the road by 9. Northwestern's really bad, but they did win. I think the flu is a player or two on that roster is dealing with the flu, so maybe that's a factor. And then the men, they almost blew a big lead to UCLA, who's pretty good. But they held on there. They'll play Minnesota tonight. We will not have post-game coverage tonight, but that should be a great game in the barn. You ever been up to the barn before, Mark? I'm guessing not.
No, I have not.
Okay.
I have not been to any Big Ten basketball arenas except Ohio State.
Okay. So, yeah, they'll go to the barn, historic place tonight, and try to win that game. And as far as scheduling, yeah, the men and women both play big games on Sunday. The men play Purdue at 11 a.m. in Carver. So that's going to be a game. And they can win tonight. They'll be 4-1, 3-1, 3-1 in the league. I believe they're 2-1 right now. Maryland and UCLA as wins thus far.
I've actually been to more SEC basketball venues than Big Ten by far. Haven't been to a college basketball game since you were probably, I don't know how tall. Not very.
Not very. I like the fact that you're displaying my Discord messaging. Let's switch that over so that people are not confused as to.
Yeah, I am not displaying anything. It's there. I didn't know what was scrolling. When I don't have my contacts in, I don't know what's going on here.
No wonder you don't know what's going on in the portal. You can't even see. You can't even read your screen on your phone. I mean, I get it.
All right, let's see what we can find. That's actually what's lit up is the.
No, I just put that up. Put that up.
Oh, okay. Well, you asked me to change it, and then you went ahead and changed it.
I just was appreciative that you did that, but I realized even if somebody wanted to sign up for the Discord for my channel, they wouldn't be able to find it in your description. So there was really no point. When are you going to join the Discord, Mark? Everybody wants you in the Discord.
Oh, I'm sure that they're just clamoring for me to join the Discord. To technically join the Discord and then never show up in the Discord.
Right. Yeah, we don't want that.
How is the Discord going?
It's going well. Yeah, it's going well. I'm surprised. So if you look at analytics for our channel, like I think in general, viewership for the channel is like viewership for the channel is probably like 80% male, 20% female. I think our Discord's like right down the middle. So we have a lot of women's basketball fans in there, but we've got some wrestling people, we've got some men's basketball people, and obviously football. Everybody's invested in football. So if you're a male or female Hawkeye fan, you're welcome to join our Discord. We got Kasheen Alexander in there. I'm in there. And Kyle Spence is in there. We got wrestling coverage continuing later this week with Keegan Jensen. So, yeah, good stuff over on the Discord.
If you strictly talked football, or I'm guessing football and men's basketball, that would not be an 80-20 split.
No. Well, it would. No, it would be. It wouldn't be a 50-50 split.
No, I'm saying what I experience, and this is for all of our channels, I believe this is the case for college football across the board. It's more like 95-5.
Oh, 95-5. Oh, yeah, that's probably true. I'm amazed at the number of engaged female Hawks on the channel. I think it's great. I mean, just because, our numbers were, before we really started covering women's basketball, I would say it was like 90-10 at least.
The slant here toward the college football playoff, which of course Corey and I will discuss the next hour as we line up the Big Ten live show over on the main channel, talking Oregon, Indiana. So the Big Ten has made its way into half of the Final Four field. And obviously, the big distinction for Iowa is that they took both of those teams down to basically the final play of the game. And so there's maybe a sense of frustration, but also a sense of pride that Iowa was able to play that well against those two. As we see Indiana continue to dismantle just everyone in their sight, and Oregon as well against a Texas Tech team that was well thought of as a top 5 team in the country. And Oregon to be throwing shutouts, basically both of them did virtually in 2025 in modern football, to be pitching shutouts against top 5 teams in the country is pretty crazy.
I know circumstances were different. I actually think James Madison was more impressive against Oregon than Texas Tech was, because they were putting up points. They just couldn't stop them. I mean, Texas Tech, I did not expect that from that offense. That's one of the better offenses statistically in the country this year, wasn't it?
I don't know if they were quite that good. I should be able to remember their stats just because I posted a video and went through all the numbers. Now, Texas Tech defensively was number 1, 2, 3 in just about every category. Offensively, they were decent.
This says they're the 7th best scoring offense in the country.
Okay.
7th best scoring offense, and as far as total offense is concerned, they were they were a little bit lower. Where are they on total offense? 11th.
Oregon was much better in yards per play, like a full yard per play better.
That's why Iowa needs Cade Wolford. Yards per catch.
Yeah, I'm a big believer.
All right, can you get us in touch with Cade Wolford, since you were a graduate of North Dakota State?
North Dakota State?
I'm sorry. Why did I say that? Kent State.
That's because if you're not talking about Iowa, then you're probably talking about one of those FCS schools. They're on the tip of your tongue all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Didn't they just play a national championship here?
I didn't watch it, but yeah, it sounds like it was a very close finish. Montana State won. Montana State beat Illinois State. And remember, Mark, I told you back in September, I said Montana State is a good FCS program. They just won the national title. So that gives more credence to what Oregon did against them. Now, nobody cares now, but I look back and say, wow, they really throttled Montana State back in September. And for that to be, the team that won the national title on the FCS ranks, that's an impressive win. I don't care what anybody says.
We've got a primetime live show that comes your way every Monday at 6 Central. You see it right there. So we've got our guy, Zach Heine, taking your calls, Iowa Primetime Live Mondays. And we may have Zach stop by for 5 or 10 minutes, give his take on Iowa football here in the next few weeks. As it pertains to the bowl game, and I know that that's old news, but it was an impressive showing by the Hawkeyes, number 1. Number 2, it did draw a nice TV rating. It was a very entertaining game. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like down to the wire, like Vandy had a real shot, but they stayed close enough to make it interesting. And both teams played to their strengths once Diego Pavia got things rolling in the second half and was difficult to contain. Turned into a very entertaining game, a lot of points. So was there anyone in particular that will be coming back? Granted, anyone could leave, but will be coming back that plays well looking toward 2026?
Well, I'd say the biggest hype train right now is on DJ Vanami.
Okay.
That's an obvious one, right? I mean, he broke a streak of, I think he had the highest receiving yards total for an Iowa offensive player since like Marvin McNutt. We're talking like 15 years ago, Mark. They have not had a player with at least whatever. What did he finish with? What were his numbers?
I'll find him.
Yeah. Impressive stuff. I keep knocking my iPad over. Anyways, yeah, impressive stuff. So he'll be back, assuming someone. Can you imagine if somebody poached him from Iowa, tight end from Iowa? Ooh, you got to wonder what he's getting, like tampering wise. Like, what types of offers is he getting? He's got to be getting offers from SEC schools. Like, I would think he's getting offers from Big Ten and SEC schools. Like, that's what you have to deal with, especially with a player who, finishes the season strong. DJ Vanami's getting tampered with. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. I've known kids that they are not even playing on Power 4 schools, and then they're tampered with before they're ever in the portal. I think the main reason for that is not desperation. Like, their coaches are not desperate to, get these guys because they're going to be program changers. The difference, Mark, is these coaches just don't care. They know they can get away with it. So why not? Why would we have to wait for some stupid formality? 146 yards for DJ on 7 catches, 21 yards per catch.
Yeah, that ball that Gronowski threw to him at the pylon, I think that was right after the botched special teams play by Vandy when the punter broke the line of scrimmage. I think it was right after that. That was an impressive throw and catch on both ends.
Yeah, and Reese Vanderzee also had an impressive catch near that same pylon. So both guys coming back. I'd say those two guys are the two commodities that fans are probably most excited about. And then there's like the unknowns of, Jeremy Hecklinski and, who they get in the portal at receiver. And fans are really like, man, it's some of it has to be just like tongue in cheek, but some of these Iowa fan accounts that they're already worshiping Jeremy Hecklinski. It's just, isn't it sick? It really is sick when you think about it, because they're more than likely, if he ends up being the starter, there will be a time where they're demanding him to be benched. Like, that's how fans are. So I just think it's hilarious. But hey, you and I have not talked about the Vandy game. And the one thing I said a week ago on this show, it was the day before the game, is I said, just from a eye test perspective, it appears to me that the Big Ten is better coached, that the SEC is less disciplined. And I will say Iowa Vanderbilt looked like exactly what I said. Like, Vandy had twice as many penalties in Iowa. They had that illegal kick. I have not seen that at any level. I've never heard of it. Don Patterson said in all the years of him coaching and analyzing the game, he's never seen it happen. That's just undisciplined stupidity. And they had there were a couple other things in that game. How many offsides penalties did they have on short yardage situations? 4th and 1. I'd say it's like 3 or 4 offsides penalties where they're just lined up in the neutral zone.
Well, that was another thing that came up. I don't know if you heard the conversation during the broadcast when Vandy continually was lining up offside at the goal line, because obviously it's half the distance to the goal line, and at some point it doesn't matter. So you might as well try to get the jump and try to, kind of submarine the line and bust up the play. That there is a rule in the rule book that at some point an official can say, enough's enough, touchdown, can award a touchdown to the offense.
Yeah. Yeah. But am I wrong? You watched the game. Is it not kind of what I said? I know it's two teams that we're looking at, but didn't it play out kind of like what I said last week?
Yes. That particular game did. And I do want to see these final few games played between 3 of the top teams in the country, and talking Big Ten SEC comparisons, because my channel goes nuts about it every night in the chat, and people are coming after me because at one point I say things that get misconstrued. But I had to correct a caller last night who jumped on and said, Mark, you said the SEC was better than the Big Ten. What I said was, during non-conference play in the regular season, the SEC played better than the Big Ten, and I would continue to evaluate as we go. Now, I will say that that Iowa Vandy game, there were about 5 bowl games that I just thought were outstanding and still give me hope that this bowl system can be saved. And they also had great TV ratings. There were some of these games had TV ratings better than anything they've had in 5 or 6 years. The BYU Georgia Tech game was really good and drew a big crowd, big number. Vandy, Iowa, really good game, drew a big TV number. Texas, Michigan, despite all the opt-outs for Texas, 12 opt-outs, they still won by 2 touchdowns and 2 big brands, and the stadium was full. And Obviously, the rating, I didn't look at it, but I got to think it was huge for those two. So there were games like that still, when you forget what's going on outside of the TV window and just watch the two teams play, if most of the players show up at a game where you've got two top 15 to 25 teams playing, I think these bowl games are still well worth it. Tennessee, Illinois was a really good game.
Yeah. And there's another example, right? That game didn't Tennessee lose that game? How did they lose that game? It was on a field goal?
Walk-off field goal.
Walk-off field goal. So, I mean, I'm not saying that like, oh, that means a big deal. I do think it's going to be hard whether you agree with this or not. And I'm not saying I agree with it, but the people that are loud in your ear now, if Oregon and Indiana both win this week.
Well, they can't. They're playing.
I'm sorry. What am I thinking? Oregon and Indiana play each other. Okay. Duh. If Indiana wins, if they say they beat Oregon in a close game, and then they destroy whoever they play in the national title game, whether that be Miami or who's the other team?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. And that could happen. I mean, that could happen.
Sure.
Miami and Ole Miss, those are a couple of teams that a lot of people didn't expect to even be in the semis. So if that were to happen, that's going to be a huge perception boost for the league. Ideally, it would be nice to have Oregon and Indiana on opposite sides of the draw, just for total, like, building the rapport, the reputation of this league.
Well, Ohio State should have won. I'm not saying they should have won like they got ripped off. I'm saying they should have won.
Yeah, so what happened?
Because you didn't show up.
We can talk about this next half hour, but what happened there? Because I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch Miami, Ohio State, and I really don't care to go back and watch it because the Big Ten lost, and I was kind of ticked off about it. It was not one I expected. I thought if anybody's going to lose, it might. I actually thought there was a better chance Indiana would get upset heading into the game than Ohio State.
Well, as we transition to the other channel and the other show to talk Big Ten football going into the semifinals, I'll probably lose my Voice of College Football card by letting you know this. I didn't watch the game either.
Yeah, well, I already knew that. That's true. I already knew that.
and I do need to go back and watch it. I've got an Ohio State show in the morning, and I would want to go back and watch it anyway. But yeah.
How much of a surprise was that, though, for you?
It was a surprise. It wasn't a shock. Like, I took Miami in the points. I stated many times, and I'm going to get roasted on this Miami show tomorrow night, but I said many times that Miami was a worthy opponent and said all the right things, and I believed all the right things. It's not like I just said it just to be nice. So I thought Miami was a worthy opponent, but it's hard to say that Ohio State's a better team because they didn't get bludgeoned or anything, but it wasn't like razor tight. They got it to within 17-14 in the fourth quarter, and they missed a field goal. They also went for it on fourth down and didn't get it. So for as poorly as they played, they were right there to do something. And again, I will check it out. And
does it seem like this is anecdotal as well, but does it seem like they struggle winning close games when they're in close games? Because they're in such few close games. Like, I distinctly remember the playoff a couple of years ago with the missed field goal. And then you have the missed field goal in this game that should not have been missed. And you have
the Big Ten championship game.
Big Ten championship game. You have the Oregon game. Was it 2 years ago with Will Howard?
At 1 point. Yeah.
And that was just a brain cramp, right, if I'm not mistaken, right? I can't remember how that game ended, but it was
he slid too late.
It was some
so the clock didn't stop, so they could not kick the game-winning field goal. Yeah.
It just seems like maybe they aren't great in close game situations. And
so I'm not disagreeing with that, although when you hardly ever lose, like you're the team that loses the least number of games in the country, it only makes sense that when you lose, it's going to be extremely close.
That's not what I'm saying, though. That's not you're kind of.
You understand what I'm saying, though?
I understand what you're saying, but
when you go 11-1 every year, you're not going to lose like 50-10 the one game you lose.
That's not what I'm. That's you're twisting that.
That
totally.
Makes sense, though, doesn't it?
Twisting it totally. You're totally twisting what I just said. Well, the
Sure.
bottom line is I'm saying when they're in close games,
Hmm.
they don't seem to win. That's what I'm saying. I don't know that that's the case, but you saying that, well, if they're going to lose, they're going to lose close games. Yeah, I get that, but it's not like if you had grab their last 10 close games,
Yeah.
You would still expect an Ohio State program that would have great leadership, great coaching, great talent to still, like, even if they don't play well and they're in a close game, to win 6 or 7 out of those 10 at least. And
Okay.
maybe they have,
Yeah.
but it just feels like in those big moments that I can recall against the best teams in the last few years, they have lost close games more than they've won them.
That's fair.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or not.
It probably is.
But I also think it is hard to, if that's true, I think it is hard to coach that when your guys are never in that. They're never in the situation. Like Iowa guys are so used to playing close games every week, and now this year they didn't win close games. In general, they lost almost every close game they played in. So, yeah, that's an interesting conversation we can carry over into the Big Ten show.
And we will head that way. Is there anything that you need to tell the fine Iowa folks here?
No, I'll get more. I mean, if you haven't listened to my tangent on Cohen and Tringer, you can head over to my channel and listen to that. Enjoy the men's game tonight. We will not have live post-game coverage this evening, but we'll be back tomorrow with portal coverage and, yeah, basically every day because we can't stay ahead of the news. My goal is to basically get something put out every day, as probably your goal is or has been. Is that still your goal, Mark?
No.
Okay.
it may be in the off season.
Yeah.
Retooling, revamping for the off season. Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, people can stay locked in, turn notifications on, join the Discord if they want constant conversation, and we'll look forward to the next post-game show later this week.
See you in 2 minutes on the Big Ten show over on the main channel.